In the past months, I've been receiving several comments and messages of people, subscribers, viewers, telling me that the T+A DAC 200 was a step above my Holo Audio May KTE 2 edition and a step above most of the DACs out there. Are you ready to discover if this is true? Let's dive in. Okay guys, welcome to Dialogue, the dialogue on analog music reproduction. Yes, it's true. This review comes from you guys, from the interaction with you guys. You got me curious. A lot of people stated this. Try the T+A. The T+A is my new reference. Is it so? So this time I decided to take a different route. Instead of finding a used unit or buying a unit to test it, or asking someone to loan it to me, I decided to write directly to T+A. And just a few days after, I received a response from the Chief Executive Officer for North America, David Nauber. And the funny thing is that he knew me. How? Because he was a subscriber to Dialogue. So all things came full circle all of a sudden. So after a nice chat with David, which he illustrated me a lot of amazing features of T+A, because I clearly knew this amazing European German brand for many decades. And I was really interested in trying something because I never did. I must admit, I never tried something in my system by them. I heard something in the festivals and meetings and things like that, but never something clearly that's what counts in my system. So just a few days after, I finally received my, a unit, a demo unit, fresh out of the chain of a DAC 200 by T+A here near Germany, because I live in Italy, you know, so we're not that distant. And I gave it a few weeks to fully express itself, and now I'm ready to share my impressions with you. Now, first we're going to see, as you know, my formula, the main characteristics, features, the connections in the front and the behind. Then we're going to come back. I will tell you the main features I think this DAC must be acknowledged, explained to you guys, and then finally I will give you my personal analysis. Are you ready? Let's proceed. Okay guys, here we are. Here is the main faceplate of the T+A DAC 200. As you can see, there are a lot of buttons, a lot of commands, which I adore. I hate to use the remote control, or even worse, navigate through the different aspects, elements, options through just one knob or things like that. So this already is an excellent layout. Plus, clearly, I am already biased by the presence of these incredible VU meters, which actually are peak meters. But we'll get to that. Okay, let's turn the unit on. There we go. It does a rapid check. Then the display turns on with all the different functions. Okay, we'll try to understand the main aspects here, and then we'll take a look behind. So, as we have seen, clearly this is the button to turn it off and turn it on. Very quick. As you have noticed, it immediately turns on and it's ready, operative in just a few seconds. Fantastic. In contrast with other models, including the May. Okay, so here, as you can see, we have a dedicated headphone output, which is a balanced output, okay? It's actually a pentagon. It's a special type of balanced output, which can be activated or deactivated just by simply pressing the button. As you can see, it's flashing because nothing is connected. So you can isolate that. That's another concept here in this DAC. Isolation. They isolate every single compartment, as we will see afterwards when I will explain the different details. The outputs, the inputs, I mean, the parts inside. That is one of the key concepts that makes a special delivering sound, high quality sound. Okay, then we have the button for the meter. And the meters, might as well just jump in now, have a lot of functions. First of all, I just want to show you by dimming the light how it's cool, how you can see them. You can obviously regulate from the menu the intensity of the light of the different buttons and the view meters. Not only, you can also change the color, yes, of the buttons, of the little LEDs of the buttons, but you can change also the color of the view meters themselves. So if you want them blue, red, green, yellow, very cool. We're just looking at them neutral white, we could say. Okay, let's jump back to the functions. Now, someone may say, view meters for what? What is that? Well, clearly, if you're sending the signal to a recorder, that already has a very specific use, meaning, function. It does make sense in that case if you're interested in that. But in any case, you're probably having the view meters already on the recorder, so it could be something a little bit extra, we could say. But it does have a triple function, which I like a lot. Now, first of all, you can select if you want to signal the input or the output level. As you can see, it says QPPM, because in fact they're not VU meters, actually by quasi-peak program meters in reality. So pretty much precise. They're not true peak program meters, which are the extremely faithful type of meters where even the slightest variation is recorded. Here, it's triggered above a certain intensity, we could say, but they are very, very sensitive, absolutely. So when the LED here is off, that means you are showing the intensity, the peak of the input level. If we press it once, as you can see, it turns blue, and at that point it will show the output level, because sometimes you want to monitor both. Very cool. Though, then we have the special functions, which I find fascinating. If you press the button again, it turns red. And as you can see, the two meters show different values. What are they showing? They are showing the temperature. Different aspects regarding temperature for optimal playback. Very fascinating. Actually, we have to keep the eye on the row below. As you can see, on top we have the dB, below is the temperature, okay? That going from 0 to 100. And it says that the left meter shows the system temperature, meaning the temperature inside the chassis, the box, which should be, they say, the optimal between 30 and 50. And as you can see, we're slightly above 20. So we need further time, perhaps, to reach that optimal stage. Nevertheless, I mean, already now you can greatly enjoy the machine, no problem there. While the other meter, the second one on the right, shows the temperature of the output stages. And they claim that the best operating value is between 40 and 60. And once again, I can see, since I've turned it on, that it's increasing. See, now it's around 35. It's almost reached 40. The same here. So it takes some time if you really want to do a critical listening, something like that. Then, but that's not the end, we have another function. If you click it again, it becomes green. And at this point, it displays the quality of streaming, because this is also meant to work, as we know, with the other components by T+A, including, for example, the streamer. So the left meter shows the clock frequency of the incoming data stream of the currently active source. And in order to be perfect, the needle should be in the middle of the scale, which in fact is. But now we're not connected to a streaming input, so this is probably just set as perfect because everything is turned off, we could say. While instead the right meter indicates the error rate of the currently active input. If you have a good transmission, it should indicate 0. Okay? Exactly how you're seeing it now, once again. Very, very cool. Okay, we're just going to put it back now to the normal input level, which is probably the most used function. Okay, proceeding, we have the button called wide and INV, or inverted. Now, it has two functions. If you click it rapidly, like this, as you can see, it changes between filter off and LP60. I think you can see it off, LP60. Now, there are also other selectable functions. These are the main two, and I highly recommend clearly to use the wide. Why? Because wide means the whole complete frequency range of the signal. Because otherwise, if you click it and you put it on LP mode, there is a low pass filter at 60 Hertz, which is clearly used for the analog output stage. I recommend to leave it completely off. So at that point, you have the whole bandwidth, as I would say, 120 kilohertz. Wow. Plus, finally, a lot of people are going to cry hallelujah. We have the phase inversion. Yes, maybe I'll do a dedicated video to this, because unfortunately, a lot of records, but also CDs, have an inverted phase, which you could switch the phase on the speakers if you want to correct that, but I don't think you want to do that every time. If you just keep the button pressed, you can see it. See, in, off. There you go. Now it's on, and you can test it. I mean, it turns out as a different color. As you see, it turned purple, and you can test it. I mean, if you have a record, for example, I remember that the record, the CD by David Grusin, recorded by Chef Phil by Doug Sachs, does have an inverted phase. I don't know if the CD version has that, but there are lots of CDs which have the inverted phase. Okay, with this you can correct it. We'll do a video, because I also have a list of CDs that have this problem. So for optimal performance, you have this option, which is missing in a lot, actually, of DACs. Then we have this other button, OVS, which stands for the oversampling function. Now we have different filters. One of the main aspects of this DAC, which I want to remember, I want to underline, this is a delta sigma DAC. And a lot of times you have a filtering already applied. You can only choose which kind of filter. In this case, you can completely deactivate all filters, as I am doing. With the, as you can see, OVS here, it says NOS, no oversampling, number 2. But we have different ones. So let's try to see. If we press it once, it turns red. FIR1, which is a classic FIR filter with an extremely linear frequency response, they say. If you click it again, you have the FIR2, which is a filter for improved peak handling. If we press it again, it becomes BEZ1. I think you can see it in the display. Is a Bézier interpolator combined with an IIR filter, and this process produces a result very similar to an analog system, they declare. If we click it again, the Bézier 2 is a pure Bézier interpolator offering perfect timing and dynamics. If you click it again and you have NOS1, there is no oversampling, but the output filter is set automatically to 60 kilohertz in order to handle better sampling rates between 44.1 and 48 kilohertz, meaning a CD and a movie, I would say. But I think I've tried, with no doubt, the best is NOS2, where you have absolutely no filter and you have the whole bandwidth, as we have said. Okay, if we proceed on the right, we can see now all the different types of inputs, which I love to have all the different inputs. We have the analog input, the USB, the 2 SPDIF, 2 optical, 1 AEC. You can press them and see, press it again, and you have the AEC through via a BNC, Obviously the HDMI, which are 2 inputs. Remember that the HDMI is an optional module. You have to ask for it. It also has an ARC, an automatic return channel. So at that point you can control also, for example, the quality, the conversion of the signal coming from a television, which is cool if you want to even have fantastic TV programs converted by the baby here. And clearly then here you can operate or engage and disengage the output. Now it's blinking because, as you can see, in fact, in the display it says no signal. I'll just put it back to SPDIF. We can press this again. There is no output now. So I want to spend a few words on this special volume knob. Now I want to let you listen the sound. You hear that? Wow. Now this is a very special piece of technology. So I want to read the special features dedicated to this volume knob, which I think it's interesting. The T+A DAC200 uses a discrete resistor ladder for volume control selection. It outperforms other similar designs by A, using precision non-magnetic through-hole resistor instead of the typical surface mount resistors. And B, the relays used are bistable, also called latching relays. So once the volume is selected, no power is required at the relays to keep them closed. And these details make the volume control quite special. Very, very cool. Okay, we have different ways to operate the different options. If you just click this, as you can see, the system is muted, okay? Otherwise, you can use the knob, as you can imagine, to select to navigate. If you push it 1, you have the tone controls. As you can see, the balance, or otherwise HDMI bypass, or the type of upsamplings. Even though all these things, you can do them directly in the menu if you want, in another menu. The low pass filter, as we said, just to keep it all open and things like that, okay? Instead, if you press it again and you keep it pressed a little bit, you go inside the different functions. As you can see, there's the meter mode, for example, but you can operate it directly from the button, no problem. And you have all different types of aspects. For example, if you want to use it at a preamplifier, I put it on variable in order to explore the capabilities of the preamplification directly connected with active loudspeakers, for example, or simply directly connected to power amplifiers. But there's lots of stuff, the display brightness, how to manage power, as you can imagine, the different colors, as I told you, energy saving. You can change the language if you want. You can activate and deactivate the remote control, but not only the remote control. I mean, you can also channel by channel, input by input, output, as I said before, turn it off or turn it on, which I think it's just better. It lowers a lot noise and things like that. So you can, I'm not going to go in on every single feature, no need, but as you can imagine, you can select and change everything from there. Or if you want, clearly, you can do the same with this beautiful aluminum control, remote control. There are some buttons like these that don't do that much. Only the F1 practically goes inside the different menus and change, and you can navigate and operate by pressing this. And clearly you can select the different inputs, which that's something cool, I think, if you want to do an A/B test, for example. And also the volume if you're using it as a preamplifier, plus mute and things like that. Very, very nice. I like this a lot. Okay, let's take a look at the rear. Okay guys, here is the rear. As soon as you see something like this, you immediately understand that we are looking at something of very high quality. The quality of the manufacture of the different details, aspects is just incredible, just oozing quality, the way it's built and fitted. I mean, you just immediately see this is at another level. Okay, so let's take a look at the different inputs and outputs. Here we have the different digital inputs that we have already seen actually from the buttons. 2 SPDIF, 2 optical, 1 AES and EBU type via XLR or via BNC. I did a specific video on the different inputs and outputs. If you want to see that, here is a link. You're also going to find it in the video description, obviously. Then we have the analog outputs. After you have converted your digital signal, you want to send it to an amp or a preamp. If you're not using its preamp functions, we have a balanced type of output and a single-ended with very high quality connections, gold connections, but very sturdy. I love these. Plus here you have a USB input, clearly for a streamer, for a computer, whatever it is. Then you have this other USB sys together with this other AJ45 type of input, and these two are used for the CD player by T+A, the MP200, which must be incredible, amazing as well. Maybe one day we'll try also that. Below we have these other RJ45 connectors, which are used, these for example, to dialogue with the amplifier, the power amplifier, the A200, because we have a whole line of the 200 of T+A. Then we also have the CTRL port, which it just says for future upgrades or future connections. Then we have a classic USB type A for charging, 5-volt charger to charge anything you want. Then you have the optional, remember it's an optional HDMI triple port. Now this is one of the most important aspects of this DAC. In fact, I requested to have the module, the optional module, to test this. Why? Because a lot of people, just like me, have a quality multiplayer, for example, an Oppo, a Blu-ray player. Now, not only clearly you can convert the audio signals coming from movies clearly to have a quality experience when you're watching movies or documentaries or things like that, or for example different streaming services, Netflix, etc., etc., anything that is video with audio. But most importantly, clearly, I wanted to try this because, for example, my modified Audiocom signature Oppo BD105, I used that to reproduce high-res PCM, meaning 192 or 96 kilohertz on Blu-ray, dedicated Blu-ray discs, or simply DVD audio with very extremely high frequency sampling rates. And finally, also super audio CDs, meaning DSD64. And as soon as I connected, it was a breeze. It immediately worked. Fantastic. No need of those little interfaces, boxes in the middle. It works just immediately. No problems. But I do want to underline the fact, they say this in the manual, be careful because unfortunately we don't have a protocol also for this type of connection. Even though it's an HDMI, much more simple than I2S. In any case, it may not work sometimes. Please bear this in mind. If you have a specific model, maybe you should ask if there is some kind of compatibility issues or not. But in any case, I do recommend buying this optional module for the reasons I listed above. And obviously here we have the power inlet. And that's it. Okay guys, now you're starting to get a better idea of this machine and its capabilities. I forgot to mention that it's available in silver but also black. So you can match it with the rest of your system. I find that cool. I want to highlight one of the main features we're going to go through now. How this DAC is small and light. In fact, I wanted to show it here with me. I mean, you guys, this thing is small. My Holo Audio is a 2-piece huge. I mean, this is a great pro for me. I mean, a positive aspect because I can fit it easily. I can turn it around. I can do things. I can stack things on top of it if I need to. Very, very useful. We're just around 6 kilos, a little more, which is just below 14 pounds. and the dimensions, you see them were around 35, 36 centimeters, around 13, 16 inches per side. It's small. It's a small baby. And in fact, someone could be biased by this, but we'll see that it's not a giant, but it's a David. It has its reasons. So let's proceed now to see more features. Now, this, as I said in the description part, is a delta sigma converter, okay? It's not a ladder DAC. It's not an R2R. Actually, T+A did use in the past R2R, and they did some research, and they found that in the end, the maximum resolution that we're capable to achieve with a ladder DAC was around 20 bits. Well, instead, with a delta sigma, they could go all the way up to 30 bits. And they finally decided to go with delta sigma, even though, as you know, the trend was, in the last months, more towards the ladder DACs. In fact, the Holo Audio May, for example, and the Terminator Plus, which I both reviewed. I did a confrontation. Here is a link. You're also going to find them in the video description. They decided to go this path also because they were able to find these extremely silent transformers, which combined with the delta sigma, they were clearly won over by the superior sonics of this combination. And that's why they decided to go delta sigma, which I perfectly understand, which is a double, differential, quadruple converter with 4 32-bit sigma delta converter per channel, reaching all the way up to 705.6/768 kilohertz sampling per second. Wow. But, I mean, we're used to this. In fact, numbers don't impress me anymore, and I'm sure a lot of you guys, I mean, clearly even small dongles can go all the way up to these, to the apex of these conversions, which you don't even find files to play back this, but it's important that they can, because maybe one day you're going to use it with these. But in any case, it's not the quantity, obviously, it's the quality, how you convert. In any case, let's go ahead with some more numbers. Another important feature that David stressed many times, and I do understand why, this is a true 1-bit DSD converter, completely separated by the PCM stage, okay? The conversion are isolated, are different, okay? This is paramount because one of the few DACs that does have this is in fact the Holo Audio May, which that's also interesting to have that comparison. But it's very rare. A lot of times you have the conversion merging together, all converted to PCM. No. DSD is separate completely, and PCM is on a different route. That is very important. And the DSD signal is capable, it can go all the way up to 1024. Wow. Clearly, you need a Windows type of system if you're using a computer. Starting from 512. From there on, you need Windows or Linux. With Mac, it goes all the way up to 256, but that's unfortunately how it is. I mean, also with my Holo Audio May. In any case, it's difficult to find that types of sampling rates in DSD. Another important fact, which I mentioned during the description, is that this has a not oversampling mode. A lot of people would say, yeah, everyone does now. That's not completely true, because with delta sigma, you have integrated a lot of times, I would say almost all times, filters, the different kinds of filters, which give you that different impressions, results of sonics of your music, of your conversion. If you want, you have absolutely no conversion with a delta sigma type, okay? This is rather unique, remember this. Plus, the oversampling that we do have, if you want to engage it, I do not recommend it. I think the NOS2 filter, which means nothing, is the best of the best. But if you want to give that special tone and flavor to the music, to the conversion, the oversampling stage is completely designed by them. It's not something just software bought. Again, as I mentioned in the description before, but I do want to highlight this. they have a complete galvanic isolation of the analog part and also the digital section. Okay, there is a separation. Plus also the power supplies that which they decided to use, isolation transformers, have that. So that's one of the key elements, as I said, in this, and I think it's also responsible of this of the sonics of this machine. Isolation. Everything is not influencing each other. Noise is reduced in all these aspects. For example, another aspect that struck me that David was underlining is that the whole machine, all parts are absolutely non-magnetic, which may seem something maybe banal, not important, but it adds an extra little detail in keeping that darn interference noise issues down, low with a high, clear, nice and clean quality of sound. And if you put all these elements, which I don't have time, otherwise the video is going to be at 3 hours, to decline, to explain to you, if you put them all together, then you understand why the sonics of this baby are, I must start to admit, very special. But we'll get there in the analysis. Another interesting feature is that the whole analog stage operates in full Class A. There are no op amps like other do put along the signal route. So that's interesting. They also adopt a HV technology, a high voltage supply rail, again for the analog stage, which is supposed to lower distortion even more. Another of those details that put all together have this amazing synergy. Plus another feature I find interesting, and then I have to close this part, is there's also a thermal control. I mean, the machine tries to regulate the temperature in order that each component, critical component, operates in its optimal temperature. Fantastic, which we have seen also the indicators from the levels, from the meters, the peak meters. Very, very cool. Okay, guys, now that we have seen most of the features, I think it's time to try to give my take, to do a little analysis of the sonics. I want to say right from the start that I am completely blown away. Okay, guys? I waited until now to say this. I was not expecting this. I did not expect this incredible jump in quality. Yes. Okay, I'm not a real reviewer who has new DAC every 2 months, but I do tested, as you know, I said, the Terminator, the Holo Audio May in the past, also other good DACs, RME, plus other DACs. I mean, nothing special, but it's interesting to have that comparison in your head, especially when you're having a reference. I mean, the Holo Audio May Kitsune 2 edition is the reference for stereophile. So, I mean, we're not talking about just one other DAC, okay? And very strangely, as I said in the video, I have an excellent Oppo AudioCom Modified Signature Edition, which has a fantastic conversion stage inside. In fact, the Holo Audio May in the beginning was just a little step above. By using it a few weeks, months, it got better, absolutely. And in fact, I acknowledge this, and I wrote that it got a gold medal at the times I used to give medals. I'm not going to do that anymore because I'm not a real reviewer. It doesn't make that much sense. In any case, there was an increase in sound. Now this baby, out of the box, just blew my hair out of the window. Really, I mean, you guys, with zero burn-in, and already that is shocking. I mean, this is going to be something else in just a few weeks. The more I use it, the better it's going to be. And I wasn't expecting that jump, you know, because you're actually, I was kind of biased when I saw the dimensions and the weight. I said, well, who knows what's going to take place. I mean, when you see the Holo Audio, it's beautiful, huge. The power supply is completely separated. I mean, so fancy, and I mean, it's gorgeous, clearly. But I mean, this I like a lot, the aesthetics, but clearly it is what it is. It's a small little box. You guys, when I hooked it up, I was just blown away because the leap was huge, okay? Huge. That didn't happen to me in several years. Where in everything, obviously. I mean, the sound stage exploded. The mid-range was fantastic, nice and rich. The voices, I find just a little bit maybe of graininess, a little bit grainy in the mid-range. That's why I started from there. But it's already changing, so I'm sure that's going to completely disappear. But even if it's that has that little graininess I'm talking about, it's already a notch better than the Holo Audio, the faithfulness to real human female and male voices, mainly in mid-range. The top, no brilliance, no shiny, no. I mean, that's something I hate in components, especially digital. You have that thrill, that luminescence on the top, which I don't like at all. Here, zero, completely not present. And the bass, ooh, nice and deep control. I mean, it's just visceral. You feel it, and you sense that there is more detail, because a lot of times you just stop to listen to boom, okay? And that has to be, you have to feel that chest bump in you. But it's not only that, clearly. It's the quality of the bass. And you just sense it. Maybe you have to train your ears for a while, but you just sense when it's distorting. You would have a boom, but it's not a true bass note. Here you're delivering a true bass note. But overall, it just bloomed. It just opened up. Everything seemed correct. With much more resolution. Detail in the transients, the timbre of the instruments. Really, you guys, I mean, I'm shocked. What else can I say? I mean, it is amazing. And in fact, I must admit that the baby is staying with me. Yes, I had to purchase it. It's just too good to be true. What else can I say at that point? Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave your comments here below with your experience. Oh, I forgot to say something. Preamplification. I tried the preamplifier directly with the my power amplifiers, my mono blocks and things like that. Good, absolutely. But with a quality preamplifier, which I am using, which is I tried it with the Shindo, amazing, and also my Spectrum from Master Sound. Wow. It's at another level if you use a quality preamplifier. Clearly, also the source has to be top-notch with the Ion CD35 Mark II, which I recently reviewed. Here is a link. The things, the conjunction, the perfect mixture of these elements just made me rip my hair off. Indeed, crying, it's a miracle. So thank you, T+A, because you really moved the head conversion a big step. Thank you again for watching, and remember that music, apart from this, is born analog.
Well guys, if you're enjoying my videos and you're enjoying my channel, please consider to subscribe by clicking the black and white logo here below. Also, don't forget to click the notification bell so you'll never miss an episode and you will become a true member of the analog community.